My name is Dr. Noa Chen, and I'm 29 years old. 8 months ago, I was a clinical psychologist working at a private practice in Tel Aviv, focused on helping adults navigate anxiety and relationship issues. Today, I lead a team of 12 volunteer psychologists who risk rocket attacks daily to provide trauma therapy for orphan children across southern Israel. My appointment book has been replaced by emergency protocols and a van equipped with art supplies, toys, and portable safe rooms. I was born in Ashkelon, 13 kilometers from Gaza. My parents, both teachers, instilled in me the belief that education and mental health were fundamental rights, not privileges. Growing up with constant security threats taught me early that children needed special protection during crisis, not just physical shelter, but emotional support to process experiences no child should face. After completing my psychology doctorate at Tel Aviv University, I opened a small practice specializing in childhood trauma. My work was steady, predictable, scheduled appointments, controlled environments, gradual progress over months of therapy. I thought I understood trauma treatment. October 7th shattered that illusion. I was at home when the attacks began. My phone exploded with messages from colleagues, news alerts, family checking in. But one call changed everything. My former university supervisor, Dr. Rachel Moore, calling from Sterett General Hospital. Noah, we have dozens of children here. Orphaned, injured, traumatized beyond anything we've seen. The hospital psychologist is overwhelmed. Can you come? I drove south through military checkpoints and rocket alerts. The normally busy coastal road was eerily empty except for emergency vehicles and military convoys. Every few kilometers, I'd pull over for incoming missile warnings. Waiting in my car while Iron Dome intercepted rockets overhead, Sterett Hospital was chaos. Medical staff treating physical wounds while children wandered hallways looking for parents who would never return. I found Dr. Moore in the pediatric ward, exhausted after 30 hours straight. Noah, meet Addie, she said, gesturing to a 7-year-old girl sitting alone. She watched her parents killed. She hasn't spoken since arriving. This is just one case. We had 23 children like her. I knelt beside Addie, using techniques I'd learned for selective mutism. But this wasn't textbook trauma. This was a child whose entire world had exploded in minutes. Traditional therapy approaches felt inadequate. That first day, I treated 6 children. Each case was heartbreaking. 9-year-old twins who'd hidden under their bed while their house burned. A 5-year-old who kept asking when mommy was coming home. A teenager who'd carried his wounded sister to safety before learning their parents were gone by evening. I realized this wasn't a temporary crisis requiring short-term intervention. These children needed comprehensive, long-term support, and there weren't enough qualified professionals to provide it. I called my colleague Dr. Yael Rosen, a child psychologist from Jerusalem. Yael, I need help. There are dozens of orphan children, and I can't do this alone. I'll be there tomorrow, she said without hesitation. Within 48 hours, we had assembled an informal team. Dr. Yael Rosen brought expertise in play therapy. Dr. Michael Barr, a trauma specialist from Haifa, drove down with art therapy supplies. Dr. Cheryl Levi, who worked with refugees, understood displacement trauma. Dr. Tamar Gold, fresh from her residency, brought energy and recent training in crisis intervention. We called ourselves Healing Wings, a mobile trauma response team for children affected by the war. Our first challenge was basic logistics. How do you provide therapy during active combat? Traditional office settings were impossible. Children were scattered across hospitals, temporary shelters, relatives' homes. Many locations lacked proper bomb shelters. Dr. Michael had an idea. What if we go to them? Mobile therapy units that can reach children wherever they are. We purchased a reinforced van, equipped with a portable safe room that could protect 8 people during rocket attacks. Inside, we installed therapy supplies, sand trays for play therapy, art materials, sensory tools, even a small puppet theater. But the real innovation was our approach to treatment. Traditional therapy requires consistent location, scheduled appointments, controlled environment. War doesn't allow any of that. We developed what we called crisis adaptive therapy, flexible techniques that could work in bomb shelters, hospital corridors, or the back of our van during alerts. Our first major case was the Goldberg family, or what remained of it. 5 siblings, ages 4 to 14, had survived when their parents were killed. They were staying with an elderly aunt who was overwhelmed caring for traumatized children while grieving own loss. The oldest, 14-year-old David, had assumed parental responsibility. He wouldn't let his siblings out of his sight, couldn't sleep, snapped at anyone trying to help. Classic parentification trauma response. 4-year-old Noah. We called her Little Noah to distinguish from me, had regressed completely, lost toilet training. Couldn't speak in full sentences, clung to a blanket that smelled like her mother. The middle children, 8-year-old twins, ROI and Ron, and 10-year-old Maya, showed different responses. The twins became hypervigilant, startling at every sound. Maya withdrew completely, spending hours staring at family photos. Our team divided responsibilities. Dr. Yale worked with little Noah using play therapy techniques adapted for severe regression. Dr. Shira focused on David, helping him process survivor's guilt while slowly allowing others to share caretaking. I worked with Maya, using art therapy to help her express emotions she couldn't verbalize. The breakthrough came during our 3rd week. We were conducting a group session in the aunt's living room when rocket sirens sounded. Everyone rushed to the reinforced room, 5 traumatized children, 1 elderly woman, and 5 psychologists crammed into a space meant for 3. Little Noah started screaming. David began hyperventilating. The twins grabbed each other, shaking. Maya just stared at the wall, dissociating completely. Dr. Tamer started singing softly, a children's song about brave little birds. Gradually, other team members joined in. The children slowly focused on our voices instead of the explosions outside. When the all clear sounded, David looked at us with tears in his eyes. "How do you stay so calm?" "We're scared too," I answered honestly. "But we're scared together. And being together makes us stronger." That moment shifted everything. The children realized we weren't invincible authority figures. We were people choosing to stay with them despite danger. Trust began building. Over the following months, our team expanded. Dr. Leah Cohen, an adolescent specialist, joined when we encountered teenagers struggling with survivor's guilt and identity formation. Dr. Aylett Stern brought expertise in family systems, crucial for children placed with extended family. We developed specialized protocols for different trauma presentations. The Nighttime Heroes program for children with severe sleep disturbances. Memory Keepers therapy for kids struggling with loss of parents and home. Future Builders for adolescents whose life plans had been shattered. Our van became famous throughout southern Israel. Children would recognize the colorful vehicle with cartoon characters painted on the sides. The therapy ladies are here. They'd shout, running to greet us, but the work took its toll on our team. Dr. Michael broke down after a particularly difficult session with the 6-year-old who'd witnessed his grandmother's death. "I can't do this anymore," she sobbed. "It's too much." We instituted mandatory peer support sessions. Every evening, our team would debrief not just cases, but our own emotional responses. We rotated schedules to prevent burnout. We established mental health days when team members could step back. The hardest case was 11-year-old Amir, who'd survived by hiding in a closet while his entire family was killed. He exhibited severe PTSD, nightmares, flashbacks, complete emotional numbing. Traditional approaches weren't working. Dr. Yao suggested EMDR therapy, but it required specialized equipment and controlled environment. How do we do trauma reprocessing in a war zone? She wondered. Dr. Shira had an insight. What if we used the war itself as part of therapy? Instead of trying to create artificial safety, we help him process trauma while acknowledging ongoing danger. We developed what we called reality integrated trauma therapy. Instead of pretending the war wasn't happening, we helped Amir understand that surviving his family's death made him strong enough to survive current threats too. The breakthrough came during a rocket attack. Instead of rushing to shelter, Amir stood frozen in terror, reliving his trauma. I stayed with him, talking him through breathing exercises while explosions sounded overhead. Amir, you survived before. You're surviving now. You're stronger than you think. When the attack ended, he looked at me with clarity I hadn't seen before. I'm alive, he whispered. I'm still alive. 6 months in, our team had treated over 200 children. But we realized individual therapy wasn't enough. These kids needed community, connection with others who understood their experiences. We established healing circles, group sessions where orphan children could share experiences without judgment. The sessions took place in whatever safe space we could find, bomb shelters, community centers, even our van during quiet periods. The circles transformed everything. Children realized they weren't alone in their trauma. 9-year-old Leah, who'd been mute since losing her parents, started speaking when she met 8-year-old Tom, who'd had similar experience. You understand, she told him simply. Those were her first words in months. Our success attracted attention from international trauma organizations. Experts from around the world wanted to study our mobile crisis therapy model. But we were too busy treating children to document methodologies. Dr. Tamer took responsibility for research documentation. Between therapy sessions, she recorded our adaptations, measured outcomes, tracked long-term progress. Our informal innovations were becoming recognized treatment protocols. The emotional weight was enormous. Every night, I returned to my Tel Aviv apartment, carrying the pain of dozens of traumatized children. Sleep was difficult, not just from rocket alerts, but from processing the day's cases. My personal relationships suffered. Friends couldn't understand why I'd risk my safety daily. Noah, there are other psychologists. You don't have to do this alone. But I'd seen what happened when qualified help wasn't available. Children like Addie, who'd found her voice through weeks of patient therapy. David Goldberg, who'd learned to be a child again instead of a parent. Amir, who'd discovered strength within trauma. The work was dangerous. Our van was hit by shrapnel twice. We treated children while rockets fell nearby. Dr. Leah was injured by glass from a nearby explosion, but insisted on finishing her session before seeking medical care. But we also witnessed incredible resilience. Children who'd lost everything found ways to laugh, play, hope. Siblings who'd been separated learned to trust new caretakers. Teenagers who'd seen unspeakable horrors began planning futures again. 8 months later, our team has grown to 15 psychologists. We've treated over 400 children. Our mobile therapy model is being studied by trauma specialists worldwide. Last week, I received a drawing from Addie, the first child I'd met at Sterett Hospital. It showed our van surrounded by smiling children, with words written in careful 7-year-old handwriting. Thank you for staying with us. The war continues. New children need help daily, but our team has proven that healing is possible even in the worst circumstances. That professional support can reach anywhere, if professionals are willing to go there. One of our most profound cases was 13-year-old Sarah, who'd become the sole caregiver for her 3 younger cousins after both their families were killed in the same attack. When we found her, she was barely eating, giving all food to the children while trying to maintain normalcy in a bombed-out apartment. Dr. Awit worked with Sarah for weeks, slowly helping her understand that accepting help wasn't abandoning her responsibility. The breakthrough came when Sarah allowed other adults to cook dinner while she played with her cousins for the first time in months. "I forgot what it felt like to be a kid," she whispered. That moment reminded us why we continue this work despite the constant danger, because childhood should be protected. Even the international recognition brought unexpected challenges. Media crews wanted to film our sessions. Researchers sought interviews during active therapy time. And well-meaning organizations offered funding with bureaucratic strings that would have slowed our response time. We learned to be protective of our mission, politely declining distractions that didn't directly serve the children. Dr. Michael became our media liaison, explaining that our success came from staying focused on immediate need rather than documentation or publicity. "We're psychologists, not performers," she'd tell journalists. This clarity helped us maintain the intimate, trust-based relationships essential for trauma therapy, while still sharing knowledge that could help other crisis response teams. Worldwide, perhaps the most unexpected development was how the children began helping each other. During group sessions, older kids naturally mentored younger ones. Teenagers who'd processed their own trauma became peer counselors for newly arrived children. Little Noah, who'd been mute for months, started comforting other scared children with the same songs Dr. Tamer had used with her. We realized we weren't just providing therapy, we were fostering a healing community where children could reclaim their sense of agency and purpose. This peer support network became self-sustaining, requiring less direct intervention as children learn to recognize trauma responses in others and offer comfort based on their own healing experiences. Tomorrow, we start work with a new group, 30 children whose school was destroyed. They've been out of normal routine for months, struggling with disrupted education and social isolation. It will be challenging, dangerous work. Rockets still fall. Trauma is complex. Some children will need years of support. But we'll be there. A team of women who chose to face bombing to help children heal. Because children deserve specialized care regardless of circumstances. Because trauma doesn't wait for peacetime. Because healing is possible when people care enough to make it happen. The van is loaded with supplies. Our team is ready. The children are waiting. We are healing wings, and we fly toward the storm because that's where children need us most.